interested in finding creative ways to get out of class. And I was not really very rebellious or ambitious, and I went to a Catholic school, so the best thing I could come up with was to volunteer as an altar server for our all-school masses. And there was one particular memorable experience. It was the time of year where every normal person would turn on the air conditioning, but our priest thought that having a single box fan in the back of the church would be enough to air condition the entire church. And if you're not familiar with Catholic fashion, the uniforms are made out of the most unbreathable polyester fabric. So you're wearing that, and then when you're altar serving, you're wearing this like heavy, itchy black robe with a sheet over top of it. So it's excellent for hot weather. And so I was getting through most of the Mass okay, sweating a little bit. You have to hold candles and things, but I was doing okay. And then we get to like the most important part of the Mass, the transfixiation. All eyes are on the priest, and we're kneeling next to him on the altar, and there's like these bright lights on us. It is hotter than hell. I don't know why, but the box fan in the back of the church is just not blowing enough air to the front. And and we're at, this is like the climax of the Mass, because we're about to see a Necco wafer turn into Jesus. So all of us, everyone is looking intently on the stage, and I feel like I'm gonna die. Like I'm so hot. And so I was trying to figure out a way I could like escape off stage, but that would not be cool. So I finally like nudged my neighbor. I was like, Jack, you gotta do something. Like something's gonna happen. Like I'm just so hot. And even though our homily earlier that day was about being a good Samaritan and helping your neighbor, he just goes, shh, I am praying. So before I know it, I black out. And I asked people after the fact if anybody gasped or, did babies start crying or, what did people do? And they said, well, nothing, because they just assumed that what had happened to me, happens to a lot of people during Mass. They just thought I fell asleep. But thankfully, my principal knew better, and he leapt to action and scooped me up. And I woke up, I kind of, woke up and looked up into the face of a very appropriately named Mr. Grossman, and he carried me off into the back where our music teacher was waiting, and she started like putting water on my face and trying to get me to drink some, and she took off the white sheet and took off the black robe and then took off my shirt, which is probably not okay. And then, so I was sitting there in like this like sweat and water drenched, completely see-through training bra, and several of my male teachers came in, saw me looking fine, and it was pretty embarrassing, but it was all worth it, because when I volunteered to altar serve, I knew I could count on getting out of one class period, and because of that feigning stunt I pulled, I was able to get out of two.